So I'll pass over to you now.
Brilliant, thanks Lila. So hi everybody, I hope everyone's well, coping with the heat wave and staying safe and all those things. It's quite strange for community engagement people for us to be doing a session where we can't actually see anyone or kind of get your feedback or engage with you. So please feel free to engage in the chat and maybe, you know, say a quick hello and which area you're from. It'd be great to kind of just get a sense of who's here. So a bit of an introduction to WSA Community Consultants first. We specialise in community development, meaningful participation and inclusion. And we've done a lot of work with big local areas, so know some of you and look forward to working with other areas. Our projects tend to fit into 4 areas, but as you would expect, there's lots of crossover. So we've got some projects that are very much around community development, in a range of settings to ensure a strong community voice and work to empower or build the influence of communities. We've got some projects that are around evaluation or research, but always approach this work with communities at the heart. And we have a training programme. And we also do a lot of work around the voice of lived experience. And within that, we have some specific focus on health inequalities and the experience of people experiencing specific health conditions to improve services. For our support partner role for this work, community engagement and volunteering, our team is working alongside some other partners as part of our team. So we've got a few big local reps involved in our team. All of our team are widely experienced, and we offer a big menu of support, which includes an offer by one of the reps involved, Alistair. And I'll say a bit more about that when I go through the offer in more detail. And so obviously our aim today is to just share a bit more about what we do. So our support offer for this work will fall into 3 parts. And there are 3 different things that we'll be delivering and offering to areas. The first will be a training programme. The second is a mentoring stroke buddying pilot. And the third is the bespoke support, which is the up to 10-day support that Lila was talking about. So briefly, in terms of the training, we have a CPD apprenticeship programme, which is CPD stands for Continuous Professional Development. And we'll be offering 2 of these courses twice over the next year or so to big local areas. So the 2 courses are how to engage communities. And that training is actually coming up on next week on the 20th of July. I think there are a few places if anyone else wants to sign up. And we'll also be repeating that, and we'll be offering Understanding Community Development twice as well. The first date for that is in October. And they're both listed on the local trust calendar of events. So feel free to have a look and sign up if it feels relevant. And both of them are really practical, but they also, and they look at both the theory, but they also have a toolkit, and they have kind of stuff that will help you and support you in your area to kind of consolidate what you're already doing. It's all about building on brilliant things you're already doing, but also give you more ideas and tools. We'll also be offering a shorter training session at some point date to be confirmed, based on the kind of offer from Alistair around the start bit of menu of options, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. The second area is the mentoring and buddying. So this is a really great opportunity for around 20 big local areas to be involved in a pilot mentoring programme. The name isn't decided yet. If anyone has any ideas, they'd be very welcome. And the idea of this is for big local areas to mentor other areas around community engagement or volunteering. So it may be that your area is really strong on some things, but could do with a little bit of help or inspiration on something else. So you could end up mentoring in one area. For example, you might be kind of great at building your volunteer base, but also being mentored in another area. For example, you might just want to talk to another area that's been really strong in engaging young people. So areas can be involved either just as mentors or mentees or as both. So we're really open, and the idea is that we co-design this pilot in the autumn. We'll be kicking that off at Connects. We'll be at Connects. Katie, our colleague, will be there, and that will be her kind of role at Connects, really, to kind of really look at everyone feeding into designing this mentoring programme. And then the pilot will run January to June. And if you are interested in being involved in the pilot, maybe, you know, just put something in the chat or let us know, and we can make sure we keep you in the loop. And this really is recognising that every big local area has loads to share. So the final kind of area, which is the one I want to focus on mostly, is the up to 10-day support, bespoke support to big local areas. It can be on any area of community engagement or volunteering, and is very much to support big local areas to build on the strengths. As we know, there are so many innovative and exciting ways that areas are doing community engagement. So, you know, this is not about reinventing the wheel. This is about building on all the kind of strengths and assets and creativity and innovation that you have already. So to give you an idea about what we're offering within that support, we'd first of all kind of spend a bit of time getting to know you. We called it the getting to know you straight scoping phase, where we would work with you to co-design what would be helpful for you within the days available. And then there'll be support, and for the WSA support, it will be based on this menu of options that I'm just going to talk through. But, you know, not exclusive, and some areas might want a mixture of things, and we're really flexible. We'd also have somebody from our team who would be a lead consultant for that area, so that you wouldn't have lots of chopping and changing. We might bring someone else in if, after we've done the getting to know you bit, we feel there's someone with a really strong specialism that would benefit your area. But you'd always have your lead person with you from the beginning to the end. And I suppose also, after Kim will talk as well, but we've also agreed between the two organisations to take a very flexible approach if we feel each other's skills would be beneficial to an area the other organisation is supporting. So just to finish on our menu of options, and I'll go through these quite quickly so we've got lots of time for Kim and for your questions. So our menu of options includes various areas, and some of the options are as follows, just so that you kind of know. So a very kind of simple community engagement audit and planning is the first one, that we would kind of take a strengths-based approach to build future engagement based on what you've already been doing, where the strengths are and where things can be replicated. There's a whole section on volunteer management and best practice and support, which would vary between areas. You're all going to have different needs, but it could be around recruiting volunteers, sustaining volunteer involvement, succession planning around volunteers, good volunteer management, volunteer experience. It's probably more on that side than the kind of partnership side, but it's a little bit of both. And then we've got a whole section on engaging. I'm trying to go fast and get my words muddled. Engaging underrepresented or underserved communities. So, you know, how can you build inclusion? What are the challenges to communities getting involved with your big local area? You know, what's some of the context? How can you kind of start to unpick that to build a more kind of, you know, more involvement from specific communities? There may have been communities you've been trying to work with for a period of time, but just not quite getting there. And is there a way that you can be supported to think about other things? We've got a section of support on supporting community-led outreach, where we look at different outreach tools, approaches, and one on good community grants. We know lots of big local areas are running community grants. Do you need a bit of help to kind of hone in that programme, review your current reach of community-led grant scheme, etc.? And we do have another CPD accredited programme that's all about good community grants. And then we get to a couple of areas that are being offered via Alistair's involvement in our team. So one of them is called START, the Heart of Your Community, and START stands for skills, talents, abilities, resources and time. And it's all really about taking a asset-based approach to help communities and apply those different aspects. And then part of that as well is another kind of offer called Your Area Can, which is about creating a community action network. And yeah, and then also potentially our training could happen in areas as well. So I think that's my time, and I'll hand over to Kim.
Thanks, Wendy. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name's Kim, and I do community building as well, but I do it through creativity. So I am the CEO of an organization called Take Apart, and we use a whole bunch of creative projects to support engagement in areas that have been experiencing a lot of social injustices And so that we can collectively all together set agendas and ambitions and realize them. We will do things like community radio stations, allotment projects. We'll get young people to make films about their area and tell their own story. We might build sculptures, beach cleans, kind of whatever creatively we can do to support communities to come together. That's our bag. So a lot of the things that Wendy is talking about, we would be doing those, but trying to use creativity, because creativity brings new people to the table who maybe haven't engaged with before. It's also about creating an approach that's more diverse, because people learn and come together in different ways. So not so much a town hall style meeting approach as ours. Ours is to do crazy stuff with communities. So we're taking an asset-based community development approach as well. That's obviously about what's strong about your areas, and we're putting you as drivers and experts in shaping what happens. I'm going to be rather quick, I think, in terms of the menu of support. We're much more bespoke, so we'd really want to start with having that scoping conversation with you to find out, have you used creativity in the past? If so, what worked and what didn't? What do you want to build on? What other ways could we creatively be looking to work together? So we can do some virtual go and sees and show you lots of different other community building and creative projects that then you can kind of magpie from. We'd like to build with you a work plan as well to realize a creative project. So who would you like to work with? What are the time frames? What's the budget? How are we going to contract these people? What specific groups in your community are you wanting to target that maybe you're not working with already? How can we create those partnerships? So thinking that we might take a day to 3 days to work out that project plan and set it in action. What we'd also like to do is sit alongside of you. We can be your phone a friend, for example, if you need some mentoring and support and how to produce these projects. And we can share with you a wealth of our own project checklists, contracts, risk assessment templates, project checklists, et cetera, to help that happen. Depending on how many of you want to get involved with creative projects, we'd also like to set up an action learning set amongst all of those that are doing this work, because you will learn different things along the way, and it's a great way to support and meet each other and drive forward the opportunity to continue to work creatively. We'd also like to look at the sustainability of this type of work by seeing if we can link you with different cultural organizations at a more hyper-local level, so you have a partner beyond us after the 10 days of support that you can continue to drive forward creative projects in your local area. And we'd probably like to do some great sharebacks as well. So it'd be nice in terms of an evaluation or a closing of this to have all of the creative projects that have been done celebrated and shared with one another, so that it's great evaluation for the local trust, but also a great way to celebrate all of the creativity that's happened already where you are. So very much like Wendy's, different levels of support, focusing on diversity, focusing on increasing volunteers and all of that, just wanting to do that with a really creative approach. So, and as Wendy said, we can be kind of our own phone of friends to each other when maybe one of us has a lack of capacity or a different idea. We can also work collaboratively to bring the best to all of you. So thanks for listening.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Wendy and Kim. And I just wanted to address, we've had kind of questions, comment from Barbara from Gorneless Gateway Big Local, who is sort of asking about what successful engagement might look like. I guess recognizing it will differ depending on the demographics and the areas that you might be working in. Just wanted to give you, either of you, both of you, a chance just to chip in with your thoughts about obviously the fact that big locals really vary in terms of their environment and the sort of capacity they might have and the kind of things that might be going on for them locally.
Absolutely. I think the success would depend on the framework that you've set. You know, what do you think is successful? That's where I think the success is, and potentially as well working with people that you haven't been able to work with in the past. So looking at who's not in the room, and if they're welcomed into that space, then I think that would be success. What do you think, Wendy?
I think I totally agree. I think part of what we would do would be to work with areas to kind of co-create, really, like, well, actually, what would be those measures of success? But having said that, I think there would be some things that just kind of fall into, you know, good community engagement theory that might be helpful steers.
Yeah.
So, you know, things like the kind of level of influence, how empowered people are, is there trust, is there transparency, you know, that kind of thing. Where are the barriers and what barriers might need to be addressed to build that trust? So we can kind of bring in some of those things that just, you know, in reality that help to guide good community engagement, but at the same time kind of really have a very open process about, well, actually, you know, what is it that we're really proud of as an area here, and what would we like to do better? And kind of starting from that perspective. I think that's a really good question. And I think what's interesting about that question, Barbara, is that you might ask 6 people in an area the same question. They might all give you different answers. So there's something actually about collating what the collective kind of good community engagement looks like.
That's great. Yeah, thanks very much for addressing those. And I think there was also some love for the phone a friend approach. I guess with stuff like this, it can be really easy to feel like you're kind of making it up as you go, or, you know, doing this stuff on your own. And it's really nice to be able to sort of share ideas. And obviously that's a big part of the idea behind the sort of mentoring approach as well, is really to build on that sense of a community,
yeah,
and bringing people together.
And can I just kind of, I mean, even within our own team, because we're, you know, it's people from WSA, but our associates team's really broad, and because we're working alongside, you know, some of the kind of reps as well, and other people, so we really try and kind of, I guess, yeah, that's just very into collaborative working, and really looking forward to that. And that collaborative working goes along with the way that we want to work with areas as well. So it's all just very much about, you know, us working together to look for the solutions.
That's brilliant. Thanks a lot. I'm just double checking. Okay, excellent. Lots of reinforcement of what you're saying on on the comments there. I just wanted to ask a question that came in just before, which was about what you would suggest in terms of engaging with maybe a particular group that a lot of big locals might struggle to engage with, so young people, whether you've got any sort of handy tips or tricks or things to be thinking about in terms of that audience.
From what we work quite a lot with young people, and what I like to do is put them in the driver's seat. So we have a tendency to give them a budget and a brief from the big local. You can say, actually, we need to increase engagement. We have £5,000. What do you want to do? And then they are in control of that. And through that managing of that budget and that project and that making, they're also learning really important life skills that you can call on in your community at a later date. So it is things like, you know, when we had a radio station, the young people took over the program for the radio station that we had. Or when they're making films, you know, what are they filming? What questions they want to ask? They're learning about vox popping and that kind of stuff in the local area. And then they're able to showcase their work. If you're celebrating the young people and their expertise through that work as well, I think that's very valuable to make a relationship. So really, really shouting about those young people. And I think it's also about partnering, obviously, with those who have skills to work with young people in your local area. So your local youth groups, some faith-based organizations that might have connectivity, and schools, and making good relationships with them so they can help you with some of the more potentially sticky things that could pop up, like safeguarding, for example.
Yeah, I would totally agree with what Kim said, and also say that there are some really great examples in big local areas of where young people are really engaged and managing kind of, you know, managing budgets around youth forums or youth activities or youth needs. So there's stuff to kind of draw on from within big local and outside, and again looking at kind of levels of engagement. So actually, you know, it's not necessarily about just engaging young people in a project that's for them and doing for them. It's you know, the model that we're trying to do anyway within big local and within communities where they have kind of distributed power or share power. And I guess the other thing is kind of thinking about, you know, looking at our big local partnerships, and are they representative of young people? Is there a way to get more representation? So, you know, how do you kind of embed that kind of that work with young people, and And even if it's a really tiny panel of young people that you work with, that this whole work takes place with young people driving it. I think we're going back to, almost circling back to Kim's first point, so that you've got that kind of core group that, you know, even if that group starts off really, really small, but actually you've got young people that want to influence, and that might take quite a lot of outreach and detached work and going to young people where they are to do that.
And I think you're just hitting on something that's really important as well, is about quality and not quantity all the time.
Yeah.
Because that can get confusing for people, and you want to try for good outcome, not lots of it.
Exactly. And it's much, yeah, I think it's much better to have a much smaller group that really is going to, because that group will develop, but once you've got the right structure in place. But, you know, each area will be different and will want to do things in different ways. So we would bring our discussions and our thoughts to discussions with you. We're not kind of, you know, that we're not kind of jumping in and saying anything has to be done in a particular way.
That's brilliant. Sorry, I'm just hopping on the questions just to check that I haven't missed any of the questions coming through. Yeah, mostly just a lot of reinforcement of what you're saying. And I know a mention of a kind of little local project with a community chest and their own application process. So some really nice practice and good examples of the kind of things that might come through in this sort of mentoring offer. And I think, yeah, another comment about listening, sharing and learning. So much can be achieved by diversifying our offers and aim to have representation in our delivery. I guess one question I just wanted to throw out there, because you mentioned, Wendy, there's the training next week. I think it's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you just want to take a moment just to mention maybe a little bit about what that might involve, just for anyone who's signed up and is maybe wondering about that.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy to. So it's a 4 days training, and it's all about how to engage communities. And we look at both kind of some theory around that, so kind of some of the principles and values around engagement, and how we kind of set a context in which people will feel open to being engaged, and maybe challenge some of the barriers that, or the context that isn't helpful. And then we spend a lot of time looking at different engagement tools, and actually everybody that comes on the course will be given a couple of resource packs and a workbook to help them going forward. So we look at, you know, this was training that was developed quite a few years ago, actually, by Mandy Wilson and myself, but it was, anyway, a long time ago in Community Development Foundation, but we've adapted and we're still running. But everybody will get a kind of toolkit, so you'll have lots of interactive and participatory tools that you'll be able to kind of use in your areas. We spend some of the afternoon practicing with some of those tools, but we don't ever kind of lose sight of the purpose of engagement, because it's one thing having a set of tools, but actually we need to kind of drill down to what our purpose is of engaging, and we've got a kind of engagement plan that we share with everyone and kind of look at. So it's very interactive. We want to have a lot of time to share from the people that are there what's working, what you're doing in your areas. And we normally, our maximum, we have about 15 people on it, but we've agreed to go higher for this, because we want as many big, you know, we're going up to 30, because we've got quite a big team from our side. And so there is time to sign up, because I think there might be about 16 or 17 people signed up so far. So if people are interested, feel free. And sorry, that was a little bit garbled, but I hope that explains a little bit what to expect. It's very interactive anyway, so expect to be involved in lots of discussions and trying things out during the day.
That's lovely. Thanks, Wendy. And I had missed a question, which I just wanted to throw out there in the last couple of minutes, which is, what would you say to an area that's tried everything, is worn out and cynical about whether people want to be engaged? And I'll throw that out to whoever wants.
Okay, shall I jump in first, Kim? I mean, I would just really acknowledge that it can be really tiring, you know, if you're trying to engage and it's just not working and it's not getting there. And I would almost suggest just have time to take a breath and let's look at what's happened, and let's think together around what solutions there could be, what it is that maybe, you know, your area hasn't tried now, or might have tried in a certain way, but maybe we can kind of think about how we kind of, you know, just tweak that a little bit. But I think just acknowledging actually the exhaustion of it, and you know, partnership members are all volunteers and they're all putting in so many hours to their big local areas, and it's just really, you know, it's really hard when people don't engage, you know, and it can be for a whole load of reasons that might not even relate to your big local area. So it's just trying to help you unpick that a little bit, I would say.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I've been doing community building, and I started off in a community doing this kind of work, and sometimes 3 people might show up to an event that took me weeks to put on. So I really do feel that pain. I guess you just have to celebrate all the good things that you've been doing and hold those up and build on them, because I'm sure not everything that was done is a complete loss. And I always just shout creativity, you know, trying to make it a bit fun, trying to make it a bit crazy might just bring some new people to the table when all of the other times they might not have shown up. So I'm sure there's another way forward. And what I'd love to do is to help you guys to find that way forward and do my very best to support. So fingers crossed, we can do something good together.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. And I think we're kind of bang on time as well. So that went really, really quickly. Thank you so much, everyone who joined us. I think we had around 16 people join and listen this time round, and hopefully lots of people watching this back as well. I just wanted to take the last minute just to mention that if you're interested in taking up the support, maybe you've got some more follow-on questions, or you're not quite ready to take the next step, do bear in mind that the first step is to contact us. So you can contact support@localtrust.org.uk, ask us questions, because the step after that is to fill out an expression of interest form. Just fill out some basic information, the kind of project that you might want to work on, or the kind of support that you might need, and then you'll be linked up with either Wendy or Kim to take this forward. So really don't feel like you need to really think about things before you get in touch. You can talk things through with us before you take a further step. You're not committing yourself to anything. And I think we might have mentioned as well, but both Wendy and Kim will be at Connects as well, talking to people, especially around that mentoring network, but also the other support that they can provide. So yeah, lots of opportunities, lots of exciting stuff coming up. And yeah, definitely get that date of next Wednesday, I think it is, in your diary for the community engagement support.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting event.
Yeah,
sorry.
And I was just going to say, people can sign up on the Local Trust calendar for that, can't they, Lila?
That's right. Yeah. So on the Local Trust calendar, I think my colleague Helen is going to post some links straight after this, both the support number, the support email address, etc. So yeah, please do take a look, and yeah, send us any questions or anything else that this has sparked for you. And best of luck with all the creative engagement and other things that might come out of this. Sounds really exciting. Yeah, thanks very much to Wendy and Kim. And
Thanks, everyone.
yeah, take
Nice
care.
to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.